The Leviathan shot through the dark waters, the engine roaring in the eerie silence of the ocean. The entire crew was on edge after their encounter with the giant creature. The numbers on the screen were flashing erratically, signaling strange activity at the ocean's depths. Dr. Ethan Graves stared at the radar, his voice growing darker. I don't think that was a solitary creature. We may be trespassing into the territory of something even bigger. Emily Carter shuddered. You mean, there's more than one? Captain Jim Reynolds gripped the wheel tightly, his sharp gaze fixed ahead. No matter how many there are, we have to find out. If we miss this opportunity, the world may never know they exist. Suddenly, a strange signal appeared on the screen. A colossal structure, hidden deep beneath the sea, was covered in seaweed and the remains of shipwrecks. It looked like a forgotten city, but it was impossible for a city to be at this depth. Ethan quickly adjusted the scanner. This structure, it's not natural. Someone built it thousands of years ago. But how? Emily skimmed through the newly gathered data, her eyes widening. The metal content here isn't like anything humans have ever known. This could be a trace of an ancient civilization beneath the sea. Jim nodded. We need to send an expedition down there. But we must be extremely cautious. If that monster is truly guarding this, we may not get a second chance. At that moment, a loud noise echoed from outside. The ship shook violently as something enormous glided past its hull, creating tremendous pressure on the vessel's shell. Everyone held their breath. The red eyes appeared again in the dark water. The Leviathan was not just a creature. It was the guardian of this mystery. And it would not let anyone intrude. The atmosphere inside the Leviathan grew heavy after what they had just witnessed. An ancient civilization, the Leviathan with its terrifying power, and signs that something even more fearsome was hiding in the darkness. Dr. Ethan Graves flipped through the notes and images they had collected from the ocean's ruins. Among them, a sculpture caught his attention. It depicted a giant creature, with many tentacles coiling around a submerged city. But what made him shiver was the creature's red, glowing eyes, just like the ones they had seen through the ship's window. We're not alone here. Ethan murmured. Captain Jim Reynolds crossed his arms, his eyes cold. I don't care what kind of monster is waiting out there, but if it's a threat, we need to prepare a plan of action. Dr. Emily Carter sat down, her voice contemplative. If this ancient civilization once existed, they must have faced this creature. Perhaps, they left behind a way to fight it. Suddenly, the ship rocked violently, and the lights flickered continuously. An alarm blared as the system detected an enormous energy source moving toward them. From deep in the darkness, a voice echoed, not from a speaker, but directly into the minds of every person on the ship. Leave here, before it's too late. A deafening screech filled the air, making everyone clutch their heads in pain. The radar screen flickered wildly before going blank. In that moment, a massive shadow appeared outside the ship, so large that it completely blocked out the light from the ship's searchlights. Ethan whispered, his voice trembling. We just woke something up, that we should have never touched. The screeching sound still echoed in their minds, as if an invisible creature was whispering right next to them. On the screen, the sensor equipment malfunctioned, only displaying erratic signals. Turn off all sound systems. Jim ordered urgently. We can't let it continue to invade our minds. Emily quickly typed a command into the console, but she froze when she saw a fleeting image on the screen, a pale face with deep black eyes staring directly at her. Ethan grabbed her shoulder. Emily. Are you okay? She shook her head, her breath quickening. I'm not sure. But I feel like it's watching us. Suddenly, the ship shook violently, as if an invisible force was pulling it down. A giant arm covered in sea-drenched tentacles crawled up the observation glass, revealing hundreds of tiny eyes along its length. Jim shouted, full throttle. We need to get out of here now. But just as the ship started to move, the darkness outside seemed to intensify, engulfing everything around them. Then, a voice boomed from the depths. You have awakened me. And the price to pay, is your very souls. Everything plunged into an endless nightmare. Ethan tried to adjust the radar system, but all the equipment was completely disabled. Only a screen displaying distorted data remained, with strange symbols flickering in and out. Emily looked at the screen, trembling. This isn't random. These are ancient characters. It's talking to us. Jim frowned. What does it want? She whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Sacrifice. If not, no one will leave here. At that moment, a massive earthquake shook the ship. The water pressure outside spiked, threatening to crush the Leviathan into pieces. Ethan clenched his fists, his gaze determined. No. We won't give in. If the ancient civilization could deal with it, so can we. He rushed to an old console and typed in a series of codes. A map appeared, leading to a mysterious location deeper in the heart of the sea. Jim looked at him, gritting his teeth. Are you betting everything on this? Ethan nodded. If this is the only way to survive, then we have no choice. The ship changed direction, plunging into the thick darkness ahead, where the truth awaited them. The Leviathan plunged into the abyss, leaving behind a sea disturbed by strange aftershocks. Everything around them was now a dense black, where the faint light of the ship's headlights could not even reach the bottom. Ethan focused intently on the map on the screen. We're only about 2 kilometers away from the ancient site. Emily took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. I feel like we're heading into a place where humans shouldn't set foot. Jim tightened his grip on the controls, his eyes fixed on the observation glass ahead. There's no turning back now. Suddenly, a blue light flashed from the deep abyss below, sweeping across the ship. The control system immediately lost control. The screen displayed ancient characters, flashing continuously as a warning. Emily's eyes widened. It's contacting us again. Ethan stared at the characters in front of him, trying to translate as quickly as possible. Invaders, there are only 2 paths, kneel or be devoured. At that moment, the darkness below began to stir. A massive shape rose from the depths, a creature with hundreds of long tentacles, each one with fiery red eyes wide open, watching the ship like a predator observing its final prey. Jim screamed, "Hold on. We're about to collide." A giant tentacle shot forward, slamming into the Leviathan. The ship tilted violently, everything shaking as if it were about to break apart. Outside, the creature opened its massive mouth, a bottomless pit, swallowing both light and life. Ethan screamed, his hand reaching for the emergency controls. Activate the EMP system. Now. A deafening boom echoed. Everything plunged into darkness. The Leviathan rocked violently, sucked into the deep darkness. The control system flickered repeatedly, the dim light reflecting on the terrified faces of the crew. Jim Reynolds gripped the controls tightly, struggling to regain control of the ship. Damn it. We've lost thrust. Outside, the massive monster continued to move. Its long tentacles wrapped around the Leviathan, dragging it deeper. Ethan screamed, his eyes glued to the screen. It's pulling us in. Emily frantically looked out the window. A massive mouth, black as night and bottomless, was opening right in front of them. Rows of sharp teeth lined up like the blades of death, ready to crush anything that fell in. Jim slammed his fist on the console. If we don't do something right now, we'll never get out of here. Ethan gritted his teeth, his hand trembling as he hit the emergency switch. The EMP will activate in 10 seconds. But before the system could kick in, a tentacle suddenly pierced the hull, bringing with it an enormous rush of water into the control cabin. Emily screamed, "Water's coming in." Outside, the Leviathan roared in a terrifying sound that shook the entire ocean. 5 seconds. Jim clenched his teeth, pushing the controls with all his strength. The ship squealed, veering at a 45-degree angle. 3 seconds. Ethan pressed the activation button, his eyes glowing with adrenaline. Hold on a little longer. 1 second. From the Leviathan's hull, a massive electric pulse exploded, jerking the entire creature. Its tentacles writhed in pain, forcing it to release the ship. Jim seized the opportunity, pushing the engines to the max. The Leviathan shot forward like an arrow, narrowly escaping the jaws of death. From behind, an enraged roar echoed, signaling that the creature hadn't given up on its prey. But now, they had a chance to survive. The roar of the Leviathan reverberated through the ocean. Shockwaves spread, creating massive whirlpools stretching hundreds of meters. Though the Leviathan had escaped the jaws of death, it was still pulled into the violent currents. Jim Reynolds gritted his teeth, gripping the controls tightly. "Hold steady. We're not out of this yet." Dr. Ethan Graves lowered his head, checking the radar screen, his heart racing. "It's chasing us, faster than before." Dr. Emily Carter looked back through the observation window. A massive figure was charging toward them at terrifying speed. Its glowing red eyes burned like hellfire, reflecting pure rage. "Damn. It won't let us go that easily," Emily whispered, her voice shaking. Suddenly, from deep beneath the ocean, the Leviathan opened its massive mouth, creating a supersonic shockwave that swept directly toward the ship. Boom. A powerful impact sent the ship reeling. Everything on deck crashed down, the electrical system flickering. Jim screamed, "Everyone hold on. We've been pushed back." Ethan desperately stared at the console. "Thrusts down by 40%. Another hit like that and we'll be crushed." Emily gripped her seat tightly. "We can't keep running. We need to fight back." Jim took a deep breath, his voice low. "How many weapons do we have left?" Ethan quickly scanned the console. "We have 2 EMP torpedoes and 1 mini thermonuclear warhead. But if we use the thermonuclear warhead, we could be affected by the explosion too." Jim pondered for a moment before making his decision. "EMP first. If that doesn't work, we'll bet our lives." Emily immediately entered the command into the system. "Target locked. Torpedoes ready to fire." Outside, the Leviathan accelerated, prepared to crush the submarine in a final strike. "Fire!" 2 torpedoes shot into the darkness. A moment of silence. Then, boom! A massive electromagnetic explosion tore through the abyss, a blinding blue light illuminating the ocean. The Leviathan roared in agony, its colossal body convulsing violently. Ethan shouted, "Engines restarting. We have a chance." Jim pushed the throttle to maximum. The submarine shot forward like a bullet, leaving the thrashing monster behind. But just as they thought they were safe, another shadow appeared on the radar. Bigger, deadlier, and it was closing in. On board the Leviathan, tension hung thick in the air. Everyone held their breath, eyes locked onto the radar screen. A new colossal entity was approaching, one even larger than the Leviathan. Jim Reynolds clenched his jaw. "Damn it. That's not the Leviathan." Dr. Ethan Graves whispered, his voice dry, "If it's bigger than the Leviathan, then what the hell is it?" Dr. Emily Carter tightened her grip, her eyes fixed on the observation window. The darkness outside began to shift. Deep whirlpools opened like the gates of hell, from which an enormous creature slowly emerged. It wasn't just a monster. It was the ruler of the ocean, the ancient hunter, the one even the Leviathan bowed to. Kraken Leviathan, the lord of the abyss. A massive expanse of flesh surfaced from the darkness. Its body wasn't merely scales or muscle, but a living armor, thick as metal, shimmering with the eerie bioluminescence of parasitic organisms. It had 12 colossal tentacles, each hundreds of meters long, capable of crushing a heavy-duty submarine like a toy. But the most terrifying feature was its eyes, 2 glowing pits, burning with an eerie, intelligent ruthlessness. The Leviathan, the once presumed lord of the ocean, now recoiled in fear before this being. Jim took a deep breath. "We don't stand a chance against that." Ethan swallowed hard. "If the Leviathan is afraid of it, then we're facing the ultimate predator." Emily whispered, eyes locked on the beast. "No. It's not a predator. It's the Reaper of the ocean. The clash of titans." The Kraken Leviathan wasn't going to let the submarine escape. It moved, slowly but with absolute dominance, like a king gazing down at the weak beneath him. The Leviathan roared in pain and fury, but didn't dare to attack. Jim lowered his voice, his heart pounding. The Leviathan fears it. That means... Ethan gasped. That means, we're about to witness the greatest battle in history. And then... the Kraken Leviathan struck. The ocean screamed. Massive water columns erupted like volcanoes. Two colossal creatures, two legends of the deep, collided in a battle of life and death. The Leviathan submarine was caught in the violent whirlpool, tossed like a fragile leaf in a storm. Jim shouted, full speed ahead. We need to get out of here now. Ethan warned, we can't. If we get caught between them, we'll be torn apart instantly. Emily gritted her teeth, eyes scanning the control panel. There's one way, but it's insanely dangerous. Jim spun around. Speak. Emily took a deep breath. We're going to dive straight into the battle. The deafening roars of the two titans echoed through the dark abyss. Leviathan and Kraken Leviathan clashed with unimaginable force, generating shockwaves, so powerful they shook the entire submarine. Jim Reynolds gripped the controls tightly, yelling, hold position. If we get stuck between them, we're dead. Dr. Ethan Graves stared at the radar, his voice trembling. We can't escape the normal way. These monsters are creating a massive pressure vortex. If we move the wrong way, we'll be crushed instantly. Dr. Emily Carter frowned, thinking fast. We can't outrun them, but if we use their power, we might survive. Jim whipped his head toward her. What do you mean? Emily pointed at the hydrodynamic map on the screen. The seismic waves from their battle are opening a pressure tunnel. If we time it right and enter it, it could propel us out of the combat zone before we're torn apart. Ethan shook his head, sweat dripping down his forehead. That's a gamble. If we miscalculate, we'll be pulverized at the ocean floor. Jim gritted his teeth. Then we won't miscalculate. Outside, the battle escalated to an unprecedented level of destruction. The Leviathan lunged, its razor-sharp fins slicing through the Kraken Leviathan's armored hide. Bioluminescent blue blood leaked into the ocean, but the beast did not falter. The Kraken Leviathan roared, two colossal tentacles whipping forward like steel cables, striking the Leviathan with enough force to create massive whirlpools, knocking the submarine off course. Jim yelled, hold steady. We're almost at the jump point. Emily counted down, her eyes locked on the controls. 3, 2, 1, now. The engines roared. The Leviathan submarine surged into the pressure vortex. It felt like being sucked into a raging cyclone. The entire vessel shook violently, sparks flying from the control panels. Ethan screamed, are we on the right path? Emily shouted back, just a few more seconds. Behind them, the Kraken Leviathan opened its massive maw, revealing rows of teeth that could crush anything in an instant. It prepared to devour both the Leviathan and the submarine. Jim roared, faster. At that moment, a colossal shockwave from the clash of the two monsters exploded, hurling the submarine out of the danger zone at breathtaking speed. Everything went dark. After an unknown period of time, the alarm systems gradually fell silent. Jim panted, his hands still gripping the controls. Damage report. Ethan checked the screens, his voice tense. We lost nearly 60% power. One of our engine chambers is damaged. But most importantly, we got out. Emily looked through the observation window. The waters outside were eerily calm, but there was no sign of either Leviathan or Kraken Leviathan. Jim murmured, are they really dead? Emily shook her head. No. They are just preparing for a bigger battle. Ethan took a deep breath. And we'll be right in the middle of it. The abyss is not done yet. The Leviathan submarine drifted in the depths, shrouded by the cold darkness of the ocean. Though they had escaped the death trap between the Leviathan and Kraken Leviathan, no one aboard dared to relax. Jim Reynolds sat motionless at the control panel, eyes glued to the data screens. I don't like this. Why is everything so eerily quiet? Dr. Emily Carter checked the sonar system, her voice tense. No signs of Leviathan or Kraken. They've disappeared. Dr. Ethan Graves shook his head, his face grim. Impossible. Those creatures don't just vanish. Either they are recovering, or they are preparing for something even worse. Suddenly, the sonar screen flickered. A faint signal emerged from a location 5 nautical miles away. Jim frowned. What is that? Emily quickly analyzed the data. An unknown signal, but it appears to be a distress beacon. Ethan blinked. A distress signal. Who could possibly be alive at this depth? Jim stared at the signal. We can't ignore it. If it's a member of the lost research team, we have to try and save them. Despite the dread in their hearts, they all knew that ignoring a distress call in this harsh environment meant sentencing whoever sent it to death. The Leviathan submarine slowly moved toward the signal, its floodlights cutting through the pitch-black ocean. As they neared the location, a horrifying sight emerged before them. Wrecked submarine, ancient, covered in seaweed and massive claw marks. Its hull had been torn open, evidence of a brutal attack. Emily whispered, "My God. That's the Neptune III. The sub that vanished years ago." Jim tightened his grip. If it's been missing for so long, why is the distress signal only appearing now? Ethan swallowed hard. Maybe, something, or someone, is luring us into a trap. Then, a noise echoed from deep within the wreck. Click, click. Something was coming. A low, rumbling roar echoed from deep within the Neptune III, shaking everything around it. Jim, Emily, and Ethan exchanged worried glances, fully aware that danger was closing in. Jim signaled, "We need to get out of here immediately." Emily, "Help the survivor." Ethan, "Watch our backs." Emily quickly rushed to the frail man, helping him to his feet. Ethan gripped his electrogun tightly, his eyes locked on the shifting shadows in the distance. The journey back to the Leviathan was more tense than ever. Every step was filled with caution, as if the darkness itself was watching their every move. As they neared the exit, a loud noise erupted from behind them. A massive creature, with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp teeth, emerged from the shadows, blocking their path. Ethan shouted, "Run now." "I'll hold it off." Jim hesitated for a moment, but realizing the urgency, he pulled Emily and the survivor toward the Leviathan. Ethan turned to face the monster, firing his electrogun repeatedly. Sparks of electricity flashed, but the creature seemed unfazed. As Jim and Emily got the survivor onto the ship, Jim yelled into the comms, "Ethan. Retreat now." Ethan slowly backed toward the exit, but the creature was too fast. It lunged at him, knocking him down and preparing to strike the final blow. Suddenly, another roar echoed from afar, making the creature pause and turn its head. Seizing the opportunity, Ethan scrambled to his feet and sprinted toward the Leviathan. The moment Ethan made it aboard, Jim commanded, "Seal the doors. Start the engines. We need to leave now." The Leviathan trembled as the engines roared to life, propelling the vessel swiftly away from danger, leaving the beast and the abyssal darkness behind. In the control room, Emily tended to the survivor, Ethan gasped for breath, and Jim stared at the radar screen, realizing the danger was far from over. The depths of the ocean still held many secrets, and their journey had only just begun. Inside the Leviathan's medical bay, Emily cared for the survivor from Neptune III. The man, his face gaunt and eyes filled with terror, muttered fragmented words. "Leviathan. Kraken. Behemoth. They are awakening." Nearby, Ethan frowned. "Behemoth? What's that?" Emily explained, "In mythology, Behemoth is a massive creature, often described as the ruler of the land, while Leviathan dominates the seas." Jim entered, his voice serious. "If these legendary creatures truly exist and are awakening, we need to find out more. There may be a way to stop them." Emily nodded. "There could be ancient texts or prophecies about these beings. We need to access historical, and mythological databases to gather information. Ethan suggested we could contact experts in mythology and ancient history. They might help us decipher this information. Jim agreed. Let's get started. Time is not on our side. Meanwhile, the survivor continued to murmur, when the three lords awaken, the world will tremble. Emily looked at him, a deep worry settling in her heart, realizing that a terrifying battle was approaching, and they had to prepare for the worst. On the Leviathan, Emily and Ethan analyzed data gathered about Leviathan, Kraken, and Behemoth. They discovered that, according to ancient mythology, Behemoth was the colossal beast ruling the land, while Leviathan reigned over the seas. Ethan pondered, if these creatures are real and awakening, we need to understand the cause and how to stop them. Emily nodded. Yes, but the information about them is scarce and vague. Suddenly, the ship's communication system emitted a faint signal, an ancient encoded message. Jim entered the control room, frowning. What's happening? Emily responded, we've just received a strange signal. It could be a message from the past, or an unknown source. Jim ordered, decipher it immediately. Any information could help us handle the current situation. After hours of intense work, Ethan and Emily finally decoded most of the message. It warned of the awakening of three legendary creatures, Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz, a colossal beast that ruled the skies. The message emphasized that if all three creatures awakened, the balance of the world would be threatened, leading to unprecedented destruction. Jim's expression darkened. We need to locate Ziz before it's too late. If these three beings unite, humanity will have no chance of resisting. Emily added, we also need to contact mythology and ancient history experts to learn more about Ziz and how to stop it. Ethan nodded. Right. Time is running out. We have to act now. With newfound determination, the Leviathan crew embarked on a mission to track down and prevent Ziz's awakening, hoping they could restore balance and save the world from impending catastrophe. Aboard the Leviathan, after deciphering the warning message about the awakening of the three legendary creatures, Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz, the crew realized they needed to focus on identifying Ziz's location, the colossal ruler of the skies. According to Jewish mythology, Ziz was depicted as a massive bird, similar to a griffin, with wings so vast they could block out the sun. Jim, the captain, called for an emergency meeting. We've faced Leviathan beneath the sea and Behemoth on land. Now, we must learn about Ziz and stop its awakening before it's too late. Emily, a marine biologist, proposed, according to ancient texts, Ziz is believed to reside in remote highlands or mountains. We should focus our search there. Ethan, a mythology researcher, added, Ziz is also linked to unusual weather phenomena, such as massive storms or violent lightning. If we track recent extreme weather activity, we might find a clue. Jim nodded. Good. Analyze meteorological data and pinpoint locations with unusual weather patterns. We'll start there. After hours of research, the crew identified a remote mountain region recently plagued by unexplained storms. They decided to navigate the Leviathan to investigate. As the ship approached the high-altitude zone, the weather worsened, strong winds and continuous lightning filled the sky. The team sensed a powerful force stirring above. Jim commanded, prepare observation equipment and document any anomalies. We need as much data as possible. Emily, Ethan, and the crew swiftly deployed their instruments, monitoring the stormy sky. Suddenly, amidst the dense clouds, a colossal figure emerged. A creature with immense wings and a regal presence, just like the ancient descriptions of Ziz. Ethan whispered, that's Ziz, the legendary ruler of the skies. Jim remained calm. We don't know its intentions yet. Maintain a safe distance and keep observing. Ziz soared through the heavens, generating powerful winds and violent lightning. Its awakening seemed to be disrupting nature's balance. Emily observed, if we can't stop or pacify Ziz, the consequences could be disastrous for the environment and humanity. Jim decided, we need to find a way to communicate with Ziz or make it realize its awakening is causing harm. Ethan, Are there any ancient records about approaching Ziz? Ethan thought for a moment. Some legends mention that Ziz responds positively to music or harmonious sounds. We could try using music to attract its attention and calm it. Jim agreed. Set up the sound system and play soothing melodies. Let's hope this works. The crew quickly prepared the sound system and broadcasted gentle classical music into the sky. Ziz reacted, slowing its flight and reducing its stormy influence. Emily smiled with relief. It looks like we've found a way to reach it. We need to continue this and study further to ensure balance is restored. Jim concluded, we've taken an important step, but there's still much to do. Keep monitoring and learning about Ziz to ensure peace between humanity and these legendary beings. On the Leviathan ship, after temporarily soothing Ziz with music, the crew realized that this solution was only temporary. The awakening of the three legendary creatures, Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz, was still causing severe changes in nature. Jim, the captain, convened an emergency meeting with all crew members. Jim began, we've managed to calm Ziz temporarily, but that's not enough. The balance of the world is in serious jeopardy. We need a long-term solution. Emily, the biologist, suggested, perhaps we need to delve deeper into the connection between these three creatures. If we can understand the root cause of their awakening, we may find a way to resolve it. Ethan, the mythology researcher, added, according to legends, Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz represent the three primary elements of the world, the sea, the land, and the sky. Their simultaneous awakening may be linked to environmental imbalances or human interference. Jim nodded. So we need to gather data on recent geological, climatic, and environmental activities to determine the cause. At the same time, we should reach out to experts worldwide for coordinated action. Emily agreed. I'll contact environmental scientists and ecologists to collect information. Ethan added, I'll continue researching ancient texts and legends for clues. Jim concluded, good. We don't have much time. Let's act immediately. The crew aboard the Leviathan began delegating tasks and conducting research, hoping to find a solution to prevent the impending disaster. On the Leviathan, following the emergency meeting, the team decided to focus on studying the connection between the three legendary creatures, Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz. They believed that understanding this relationship could help them find a way to restore the world's balance. Ethan, the mythology researcher, began his explanation. According to ancient texts, Leviathan is the sea monster, Behemoth is the land beast, and Ziz is the giant bird that rules the sky. These three creatures represent the world's three primary elements, the sea, the land, and the sky. Emily, the biologist, added, interestingly, in some legends, the existence of these three beings is considered essential for maintaining natural balance. If one of them is awakened or destroyed, this balance could be disrupted, leading to environmental catastrophes. Jim, the captain, pondered. So the simultaneous awakening of all three creatures could be a sign of a severe natural imbalance. We need to determine what triggered this event. Ethan nodded, exactly. Some texts mention that when humans excessively interfere with nature, such as overexploiting resources or causing pollution, it disrupts the balance and can awaken these legendary creatures. Emily proposed, we should collect data on recent environmental activities, such as deforestation, ocean pollution, and climate change, to see if there's a link to the awakening of Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz. Jim agreed, good. Let's assign tasks to gather and analyze this data. At the same time, we need to research ancient rituals or methods that could help calm or return these creatures to their slumber. Ethan said, I'll continue researching ancient texts and legends to find information on rituals or methods used in the past. Emily added, I'll contact environmental scientists to gather data and analyze human activities that may have impacted natural balance. Jim concluded, we're racing against time. Let's act quickly and efficiently. The fate of the world may depend on what we discover and do in the coming days. The Leviathan crew quickly got to work, hoping that a deeper understanding of the connection between the three legendary creatures and human impact on the environment would help them find a solution to restore balance and prevent the looming disaster. Aboard the Leviathan, after days of intense research, Ethan discovered an ancient text in Oxford University's digital archives. This text, believed to be a part of the Midrash, detailed the relationship between the three legendary creatures, Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz. Ethan summoned the team and presented his findings. This text includes a passage stating, "When humans disrupt nature's balance, the three divine beasts shall awaken. Only when harmony is restored shall they return to their eternal slumber." This suggests that the awakening of Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz is directly linked to human actions affecting the environment. Emily, the biologist, reflected, "If that's the case, then to calm them, we must restore natural balance. But how do we communicate and convey our intentions to these creatures?" Ethan continued, "The text also mentions an ancient ritual called the Song of Nature, in which humans used music and dance to express remorse and a commitment to protecting the environment. This ritual was said to have the power to soothe the divine beasts and return them to sleep. Jim, the captain, decided, "We will perform this ritual. Let's prepare everything necessary and thoroughly study how to carry it out. This may be our only chance to stop the disaster." The Leviathan crew began preparing for the ritual, hoping that the Song of Nature would allow them to communicate with and calm the three legendary creatures, restoring balance to the world. On board the Leviathan, after discovering the ancient ritual, the Song of Nature, the team started preparations to perform the ceremony to calm the three legendary creatures, Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz. Ethan, the mythology researcher, shared, according to ancient texts, the Song of Nature is a ritual combining music and dance, representing human remorse and a commitment to restoring natural balance. Emily, the biologist, added, "This ritual requires the use of traditional musical instruments and dances that mimic natural elements such as water, earth, and air, symbolizing the three legendary creatures." Jim, the captain, decided, "We will need support from musicians and cultural experts to perform this ritual accurately and respectfully." The Leviathan crew reached out to local communities and invited folk artists to participate. Together, they studied and practiced traditional songs and dances related to nature and environmental balance. Ethan emphasized, "It is crucial that we express sincerity and respect in every melody and movement to convey a message of peace to Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz." Emily added, "We should also incorporate modern elements, such as lighting and visuals, to enhance the ritual's effect and capture the attention of the legendary creatures." After days of practice and preparation, the team and the artists felt ready to perform the ritual. They chose a vast open location near the sea, where they could connect with all three elements, water, land, and air. Jim concluded, "This is our chance to restore balance and prevent catastrophe. Let's perform the ritual with all our heart and faith." At the expansive shoreline, where the sea, land, and sky converged, the Leviathan crew, folk artists, and local communities gathered to perform the ancient ritual, the Song of Nature. Their goal was to calm and return the three legendary creatures, Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz, to their slumber, restoring balance to the world. As the ritual unfolded, the sky darkened, and strong winds carried an echoing sound, like the cry of a giant bird. Everyone looked up and saw a massive silhouette emerging from the clouds. From the mist, Ziz, the legendary bird ruler of the skies, appeared with its enormous wings stretching across the heavens. Its glowing eyes scanned the crowd as if evaluating them. Ziz's cry echoed through the air, powerful yet sorrowful, as if lamenting the harm humanity had inflicted upon nature. Ethan, the mythology researcher, whispered, "That is Ziz. According to legend, it embodies the sky and air, one of the three legendary creatures alongside Leviathan and Behemoth." Emily, the biologist, observed, "Ziz's appearance could be a sign that our ritual has reached it, or it may be warning us of something." Jim, the captain, decided, "We must find a way to communicate with Ziz, to understand its message and determine what we can do to restore balance."